number 2. This is the viola. I am Seth May-Patterson, and today we're going to talk about the open strings. So if you want to put it up on your shoulder very carefully without hitting your face, which happens sometimes, so don't worry about it if that happens to you. The far rightmost string is also the thinnest string, and that's the A string. It's our highest pitch. And then to the left is our D string, and then our G string, and then our C string. So the A string, as I said, is the thinnest string. It's also the shortest string, which makes it the highest pitch. And then as we go down, the D string is thicker and it's a little longer, so it's going to be a little lower, and then G and then C. Those are the open strings of the instrument. You're going to want to practice, and we'll talk about pizzicato in this video as well. Also, we're going to talk about seated position, so we sit well and we don't hurt our back and we are sitting comfortably. That being said, I would also recommend to stand when you practice most of the time. Sitting can introduce some posture problems and some tension in your back and shoulders sometimes, even though most of the time when you play in an orchestra, you're sitting down. That being said, I would still practice standing up and then also maybe try sitting every once in a while. But if you play in an orchestra, most of your time will be spent sitting, so you have a lot of time to figure that out. So standing is overall a generally more healthy posture. We are going to switch now to learning how to sit. So now you can see I am seated. A couple things that we just want to be aware of. So first, our feet should be flat on the floor. You should feel like you're rooted into the ground. They should not be like this, where they're crisscrossed. They shouldn't be wrapped around the leg of the chair. You don't want to have our legs crossed or anything like that. You want to be feet flat on the ground, about shoulder distance apart. You want to feel like you're rooted into the ground, where you could, if you needed to, you could stand up. So I'm going to demonstrate. I'm not going to move my feet, but I could just stand up right from this position. And you can sit straight back down without moving your feet. Should be very, very comfortable. The next thing you want to think about is your back. You want to be sure that you have a nice, pretty straight back, and your shoulders are down and low, and your shoulder blades, you want to think of them as flat against your back. You don't want to hunch your shoulders or slouch, because when you play like this, it doesn't look like, it's not very exciting, and it looks like you don't really care. And so when you want to play, you want to sit, and you want to feel like you're ready to play, and you're looking at the conductor, and you're ready to go. The other thing you want to think about when you have your instrument up is you don't want to point your instrument directly at the middle of the stand, so you don't want to look down your fingerboard and see the middle of the stand, because then you have this kind of weird pointed position. So instead, you want to be sure that your scroll, as we talked about in the first video, your scroll right here, is a little bit to the left of the stand. It should be, if you've studied any kind of geometry, it should be 45 degrees. So this would be straightforward. This is 45 degrees. And then this is 90 degrees. And this obviously looks very awkward and not very comfortable. So don't be completely off to the left. Just be a little bit off to the left side of your stand. And then you want to be looking straight forward. So you're actually not looking at your fingers. So you want to practice your music enough so you don't have to look at your left hand, unless is a specific spot or something. But most of the time you practice enough so you're just looking at the music and you can do what you need to do. So in order to teach the pizzicato technique, I'm going to be nice up and close so you can see everything. So we're just going to be plucking the open strings. We're not going to put any fingers in the left hand down. So if you want to, as you hold your instrument, it's very comfortable to kind of hold it right here, just so it's nice and stable. So the most important part is the right hand, because we're going to be using it to pluck. So the first thing to do is to make an L with your right hand, just with your thumb and your index finger. And then actually, if you can turn that L into a C, just like this. And then you want to take your thumb, and you want to find the right corner of your fingerboard right here. It's right next to your A string. And then you extend your first finger. Remember, I'm still in this C shape here. So I have it in the C shape, except for we don't want to pluck right here. So actually, if we turn the hand a little bit, so we're plucking over the black part of the fingerboard, that's the best. So we never want to pluck in between the fingerboard and the bridge, because that's where our bow will go, and the bow has rosin, and rosin is tree sap, and so it's really sticky. And as I said in the first video, we don't want to touch the bow hairs because we have oil on our fingers. So if we touch and pluck right here, we're going to get that oil right on the string, which is not good. Place the thumb right here on the corner, take the first finger, and then rotate the hand over the black part. So a nice little exercise that I think some of you may or may not know, it's called the ant song. And so it goes, there are ants, ants, ants digging in the dirt, 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 digging underground, ground, ground, all the way to China, China, China. So what I did was pluck each string 3 times. And so if you want to do that without singing, because singing and playing is kind of hard, unless you want to give it a try. But you can do it just like this. So you also want to be sure that when you pluck, that you're plucking in a way that the string can ring freely. You don't want to touch the string with any other fingers or anything like that, because then it doesn't ring. So you want to be sure that it rings nice and free, and you don't have to pull very hard. You can, but you don't have to in order to kind of learn how to pluck. You'll also, very slowly, you'll develop some calluses on your fingers, which is a very good thing. A lot of musicians kind of pride themselves in having calluses on their left hand or their right hand, especially guitar players and also violinists and bassists as well. Don't worry about that, but if your fingers do start to get a little bit sore in the left or the right hand, that's totally normal, especially as a beginner. So just take a break and just let yourself rest a little bit. It'll totally get better a lot quicker. Just be sure you practice every day, and pretty soon it's not going to bother you. But don't overdo it if you're feeling any kind of pain in your fingers. Moral of that is just don't pluck too hard. You shouldn't have to pull very much. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.